Welcome to Let's Talk Petty. We are not petty, but we love talking about it.
Yes, we do. You're Kate. I'm Andrew.
Uh-huh.
And you're drinking coffee.
No, I'm drinking tea.
Right in the middle of our introduction.
Yeah.
Which is why I had to say your name for you.
No, I would have said it after you said your name.
People were not going to wait around that long to find out who you were.
That's true.
But you're worth waiting for.
Aw, shucks.
Come on, I'm right here. So I have another story this week about one of our favorite petty organizations, homeowners organizations.
Ooh.
So let me ask you a question first. We live in Florida, and it's hot, right?
Yes.
When you park your car outside, go into a store, wherever, and you come back out, would you assume that your car is hot if it's been sitting there for more than 5 minutes to touch it?
Yes.
Okay. So you would know better than to touch your car because it's Florida, the sun is hot, and it's a metal object, and it's going to be scalding hot.
Yes.
Okay. So here's the title of the article that I'm getting this story from. Man says neighbor called HOA after child touched his hot Tesla.
Okay.
So an HOA had to get involved because somebody touched a hot car. I don't know if they had to, but the people's parents
Yeah, they didn't have to.
The people's parents got the HOA involved. So homeowners associations get a pretty bad rap. While its stated goal is to protect the interests of the neighborhood, it can instead micromanage and send a flurry of complaints to homeowners over minor infractions, which is literally all they do.
Yes.
Nothing more. One such minor infraction recently went viral on TikTok after being posted by user Christian, and his TikTok name is DVDude8.
DV Dude?
DVDude8.
Maybe
Not
it's
7.
DVD Ood.
DVDude8. DVDude8.
Or he's just a Doctor Who fan, and he's Ood.
Could be. Maybe you can ask him.
No.
Okay. In the video, which now has over 416,000 views, Christian says he was issued a complaint by his HOA after a neighbor's child allegedly burned their hand after touching his Tesla, which had been parked in the sun.
Why is this kid touching cars?
It's not his kid, it's somebody else's kid.
I know. I said, why is this kid touching cars?
Great question. Kids are going to be kids, I guess. They always go around just touch cars. It's a new thing. It's the new challenge on TikTok. Let's touch the car and see if it's hot.
It probably is. There's so many dumb ones.
Apparently somebody burnt their hand on my property, Christian says in the video. Apparently it's my responsibility because a child burnt their hand on the side of my car as it's parked outside in the sun all day. The F is wrong with people, he asked. What am I supposed to do? Like have a warning on the side of my car saying might be effing hot as it's parked outside the Florida sun all day?
It wouldn't have been as funny. It might be effing hot.
But I can just imagine everyone having, like, it seems like the type of thing that would happen in Florida where you have to drive around with a warning on your car that says, caution, car might be hot.
Car might be effing hot.
You would never think so, but why do we have caution hot contents on coffee cups now? Because somebody burnt themselves on hot coffee.
But again, the whole story of that is very diluted.
True.
She was 100% right in what she did. So,
but we still have those warnings.
We do, but but she wasn't an idiot, so it's not a great. You should do more of like the Tide Pods. Do not eat these. That is something that is stupid. We have to have.
But I can imagine in Florida, people that buy a car, it'll have come with some little sticker that says caution, car may be hot when it's in the sun.
Does this person live in Florida?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The whole thing is from Florida. That's what I just said.
Oh,
it's parked outside in the Florida sun all day.
Oh, parked outside. I just heard in the sun all day.
Yeah. Cars parked in my private driveway. Person complained that their child burned their hand on the side of the car. Control your effing kids, he adds in the video's caption.
I agree.
Don't let them walk around on private property touching people's things and they won't burn their hands. HOA, I've got a complaint. My child went in my neighbor's backyard, got in their shed, turned the lawnmower on, and somehow cut their foot off.
do something about this?
Again, HOAs would take that seriously too and probably write a letter to the person. Why wasn't your shed locked? Why are you keeping a dangerous object in your shed? Of course, sheds probably aren't allowed to begin with if there's an HOA. In comments, users supported Christian while offering their own ideas for how he should respond. Simple solution: find the HOA president's home, touch their car, and file a complaint. I mean, that should end right there. It probably will not get much more petty than that.
That's pretty funny.
Let's see, a second one. Turn this all around and call CPS to report that a parent failed to properly supervise their child outside and as a result was injured when trespassing.
Yeah.
Second suggested.
How old is this kid that touched the car?
I don't think very old. The article doesn't say, and I couldn't find out how old this kid was.
I mean, when our kids were little, if they had done something like that, it would have been like, yeah, now your hand's burned. Don't go onto other people's property and stink and touch their stuff. Lesson learned, you little puke. God, such a great parent.
Our kids only respond to the word puke now. Counter complaint. Child scratched your paint. Will need HOA to paint for the paint. Will need HOA to pay for the paint correction, a third shared, which would tie up the HOA to have them come inspect it. Not a bad one. Others offered their opinions about what events like this say about greater American society. People are getting too ridiculous with the blame game, claimed a user. Watch your damn kids and take responsibility.
Correct.
100% correct. Some parents think their kids can do no wrong and any consequences their child suffers must be someone else's fault. Like what? They had me until they added on the like what. There was no need for that.
What are they, a Valley girl? Like, what are you even talking about right now? Like,
should have just said
what?
Must be someone else's fault, period. Don't add the like what. Side rant. Like, what is that?
Like a what?
Finally, some took this as yet another warning to not get involved with an HOA when it's optional. One user wrote, "Here's a perfect example of why to never buy in an HOA. You get what you get." Christian later revealed in a follow-up video that the complaint was dropped. Thank God, he says in the video. I mean, ridiculous if you think about it.
It's ridiculous even when you don't think about it.
Don't have to think very long about this.
You don't have to think. You can read it and instantly you just are, this is ridiculous.
I've tried, after reading the story, to even come close to imagining what went through the parents' minds when their kid came home and said their hand got burnt on the car. First of all, how long did the kid have their hand on the car for it to hurt that bad that when they came home, maybe their next door neighbor, I don't know, but for it to be that burnt?
I don't know.
I can't imagine it took that long for it to be really burnt to realize, oh, that's hot. I got to stop touching it. Second of all, what is going through that parent's mind when their first reaction is, we need to write a letter to the HOA?
Well, obviously I feel like they're the typical parents of the kind that just they let their kids do whatever they want. And then when something happens, because it will make them look like bad parents, it has to be somebody else's fault. Mm-hmm. I think that's just the way it is. Like, I was in the grocery store the other day. Actually, I think it was literally yesterday. Mm-hmm. And these kids who were in there, was 3 of them, up front while the mom is checking out, just running around like a bunch of nerds. And then they have this display of these wind chimes, and they're over there rocking the display of wind chimes to make the wind chimes go. And the mom is just like, la, 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 I'm over here checking out. My kids aren't making a ruckus over there at all. And so I could see, like, if they knocked that whole display over, she would be the kind of person who instantly it would be the store's fault. Why didn't you set that display up better? How are my kids knocking over? I'm going to report this to the HOA. No, but she would be the one who is like, your corporate office is going to hear about this. Like, I assume that's the same type of person who has to write a letter to HOA.
And when you look at a picture of it, it sounds like it's maybe in a private neighborhood, probably people well off in there. So of course, they're going to blame everyone but themselves for it.
Yeah. Anything to make them not look like bad parents.
Again, I just can't imagine that's the first response. Let's write a letter to the HOA and get them involved with this and tell this man to not make his car so hot.
Listen, mister, your car goes in that garage, and if we go by and it's not, you're fined $100.
So now in this neighborhood, you have to have a sticker on your car that says caution, car may be hot.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to have a thermometer, one of those thermometer stickers on your car.
Yes.
Like you would put on a fish tank or something, but you put it on the car so that everyone can see how hot the car actually is. And for you, because you need to make sure that your car is under a certain temperature, which means you have to give it some sort of a cover if it reaches a certain level.
Yes.
That seems like the type of thing that an HOA would try to enforce.
It absolutely really does, though. What is the point of HOAs now? Like, why is this allowed? Because isn't it people who live in that community? So wouldn't you think that they would want it to be like real things? Like, hey, the city was supposed to pick up my garbage and they haven't picked up my garbage in like 3 weeks. Help me with this. Well, that would be useful.
There are some that are like that don't live in that neighborhood. They're an HOA, basically corporation, and they manage a bunch of different neighborhoods.
Well, that's where the issue comes in, because it ended up being a corporation. And
I don't know if that's what this one was, but I mean, the ones that are in the neighborhood, yeah, that's what you fight for. Hey, our garbage doesn't get picked up. Hey, we've got animals roaming around the neighborhood. I mean, legitimate things.
Yeah,
but then they take those legitimate things and they turn them into bigger things and make dumb, petty rules about them, which don't need to exist.
Yeah, it just makes it very counterproductive.
Just another example of a fun HOA story.
That was pretty fun.
So which one of those petty revenge ones did you think was the best?
I think the one about going to touch the head of the HOA's car and then file a complaint. Yeah. That one was probably the funniest.
I don't think anything can top that.
Mm-mm.
So that's a fun HOA story. If you have any, you can share them with us. Hopefully one of our listeners lives in an HOA neighborhood. Someone has to.
Yeah, has to.
And then they're probably the head of the HOA, and we're probably making fun of them right now. But if you live in one, you've ever had experience with an HOA, share those stories with us. And that's going to be our episode for this week. Go to our website, letstalkpetty.com. You can listen to all our old episodes. We're gearing up for season 2, which will be coming out shortly. And you can find all of our social media handles. You can leave us a voicemail to leave us that message about your incident with the HOA. And that's all for this week. And we'll talk to you next time.
All right. See you next time. Thanks for listening. Please be sure and give our show a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. And be sure to follow and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.